Hey everybody, this is Brad Dyke. How you doing? Today's video is going to be talking about a little trick that it kind of bugs me when it comes to manufacturers of previous notebook sets like Dell platforms, the Inspiron series, several other actually that are out there as well. And the discussion relates to the nature of the way they cut corners and costs. And what that specifically talks to is the nature of the NVMe style M.2 versus the SD280 style, or SSD, I'm sorry, solid state drive SSD disk capacity, which is basically this. And if you look real close, you'll see there's a slit, two sets of slits. Now this is an SSD drive, 2080 series. It fits on a motherboard that has an M.2 connection point, and they have the ability of being able to, that specific M.2 port is able to, you could say backward compatibility wise, to support the SSD, but the M.2 was really designed for this type of drive, which is an NVMe class drive, opposed to the SSD version, which has the two dual slits there. And if you put them side by side, you can see that technically they do fit. Now, let me give you a little bit better example of why I'm bringing this up. Now, as you look at this motherboard for a laptop, which is a reduced factor standard laptop motherboard, or doubled down, is what we call them, this gives you the ability of doing fairly fast processing, but obviously not as good as a true motherboard because you have full paths on a genuine motherboard, which you do not. But if you look right over here, you have yourself a M.2 slot, which is set for a 280. You see this distance gap there for the 280 series. And you also have another one right here, a reduced factor, but it's being used for the Wi-Fi function. But it can be for the half pint version drives as well, but you forfeit your Wi-Fi, so you don't want to do that. So the problem here is that even though you look at this guy, and it is an M.2 NVMe class slot connector, it is not able to support NVMe or the voltage variations that are expected from them. So what that basically means is this is the drive that was actually sold with it when it was purchased from Dell. And as you can see, it fits just fine. Now, notice the dual slit. Now, I want to take this guy, the same setup, and I'm going to put it in here. Now, don't worry, you're not going to damage the drive. But if you powered it up, the BIOS will say there's nothing in the SSD slot for SATA, because it is looking for a SATA SSD drive, not an NVMe class drive. So why did they do this? That is a very good point. The reason why they do it this way is because simple. Save money. So if they went with one style class adapter on the logic board, with a few minor changes, basically a chipset change, you could get the NVMe load and the multi-voltage load variant, and so on. Which means that, based on the production-based models of these units, use a single port that can be basically, for all intents and purposes, bastardized into handling a lesser stack. Now, what that means basically is fewer modifications for the actual motherboard over time as they price these units out, but they're using the port sets in a kind of a misdirective way. Now, the reason why I bring this up, the real nooks of this problem is we have people out there on the internet who don't know what they're saying. Specifically, they'll say, hey, I've got this Inspiron series out here. It's a version 7214 or one of these variations out there. And you can identify that by the make and model of the bar set on the laptop itself. And they'll say, yeah, I put an NVMe on it. It ran just great. No problems whatsoever. It was, and no, it doesn't, period. The compatibility of a older generational, let's say a 9th gen set or an 8th gen set style motherboard that supports that type of processor has its limitations. So what ends up happening is people rush out and they go buy these really great prices on NVMe's for, let's say, I don't know, a terabyte, 2 terabytes, something like that. And they very quickly discover it won't read it. It can't see it. What am I doing wrong? And I want to tell you right now, don't go out and modify the BIOS. That's not going to help. Equipment needs to be what equipment is, and it has to support what's present. And if it doesn't do that, if you don't have the actual components on board to support, you're going to find it extremely difficult to run something that was never designed to run in the first place. So that's the truth of the matter here. So you end up having to send the drive back, get rid of your NVMe that you just bought that was super powerful, and you thought you were going to get a lot of performance from it, but in true reality, the laptop could never do anything but a generic style SSD drive variant that fits in an M.2 slot. So this is a kind of an Achilles heel with me. One of my counterparts out there said, you could try to do this. And I'm like, nah. But you know what? Unlike most people, I have NVMe drives, as I've done many videos with them and so on. So I said, what the heck, I'll do it. Let's take a look. Let's confirm this. And I did. As soon as I put it in, not a hiccup, nothing. Nothing is visible at all. It just did not work, period. And that's okay, because, I promote people to go out and take something that's broken, that's not in use anymore, or anything like that, and see if you can turn it around and use it for something new. And I'm absolutely all for that, by the way, because you're reinventing. You're not creating a trash pile, right? So by avoiding, creating a trash pile and kind of repurposing what you have, you're being more pragmatic. And in this case, I tried to take components, and this particular Dell laptop is an i5 7579 chassis. It's right here. And it's a great little notebook, and it's really, really a good little powerful life cycle style laptop that easy to work on and so on. But I just said, a friend of mine said, hey, I want to try this out. And so I had the opportunity to test both of these strategies out. One, to take it to a Linux environment on a Gen 9 and see how that would perform, as well as the other side of the fence where I was working with the compatibility problems that, quote unquote, aren't there, but in true reality, do exist. Well, this is Brad Dyke signing off. I'm just giving you guys a quickie here. It's a little 8-9 minute session. And it's all technical base, so that you can feel like you're getting your hardware injection from me. I know that things out there aren't great, and I'm very, very aware of the challenges that so many of you have. This is why I do the videos that I do, and that's to kind of help you get some training or some support that isn't going to cost money. It's not about money for me in that regard. So, with that being said, I'm going to let you guys go. You have a great weekend coming up, and God bless.